A lot to get to today. Later, we grade the Guardians at the halfway point of the season. And were the Cavs disrespected? A G. Bush headline special.
Or the Browns.
What did I say?
The Cavs.
Oh, I'm in Cavs mode. Were the Browns disrespected by Pete Prisco's article? Everybody hates Pete Prisco, but he writes good articles sometimes. So we'll get into all of that. How you guys doing? I got to tell you, Jason and Earl are a lack of energy before this. So I expect the two of you both to pick it up.
I'm allowed to be
Earl hasn't made
energy.
Earl hasn't. I don't know what's going on with Earl. I don't know what's going on with you. You're yawning before the show. Earl hasn't said a word in a half an hour. I don't know what's happening. So you two better pick it up. Let's see some freaking energy here.
At 10:59, I'm allowed to yawn.
No.
Yes.
No yawning. No yawning.
It's been a busy morning. It's been a lot going on this morning.
Well, you've actually had to move your kids around?
Yes.
I mean, you're a dad. That's your
I
job.
was playing Uber driver. I was taking him. I was taking her. Came back for him. Had to come here. By the way, Donovan signed. I'll have a story done.
I know Zach and I are about to do the Guardian show at 9:30, and Zach's like, we got breaking Cavs news. I'm like, oh, really? I didn't see it yet. Donovan Mitchell. Earl!
What's up, man?
Are you excited?
I am. I'm very excited. I never thought he was leaving. I'm on record. I never thought he was leaving. Mike can tell you that.
By the way, I don't want to. All the people that knew he was never going to leave, you're full of it. You knew nothing, and good. It's good that he's not leaving.
Take the win, Earl.
Take the win, Earl.
I am.
Take your victory
I am.
lap.
I'm bashing every national media pundit today. I'm taking that victory lap today because not often in the city of Cleveland do we get an opportunity to do this. But I knew nothing. I just, in my mind, and I remember sitting here telling Jason, I said, like, I get it. Jason talks to a lot of people. Never trying to discredit my boy, but internally, I never thought he was leaving.
And Mike made a point off the air that the biggest thing that may have played a role was that Jalen Brunson became a superstar.
Yeah.
And that he wasn't, and because the team that Donovan wanted to go to was the Knicks, and the Knicks are not a fit for him anymore. So there wasn't another team that made sense.
The Knicks didn't choose him.
Yes.
They didn't choose him. And when they made their all-in move for OG Anunoby, and they didn't have any trade pieces.
Right.
And you're right. The emergence of Brunson and whatever else, and there was nowhere else in the landscape. There was nowhere else for him to go that was going to give him a chance to win like he can here. And, then Brooklyn came up. I heard Brooklyn throughout the year, and then I talked to other people like, he ain't going to Brooklyn.
No.
And now you see what happened to Brooklyn. They completely imploded.
Yeah.
And they're starting a total rebuild. But and we can get into the reasons, and they're
we
valid.
will.
But, let's take 1 second. This is really
huge.
Significant for the Cavs.
And we're going to talk about how historic it is for the Cavs. But first, Mike, tell us this.
Yeah, I wonder what the odds would have been on FanDuel to begin last season, like 1 year ago today, that Donovan Mitchell would sign an extension. I bet you could have found it on FanDuel because you could find everything on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. You guys know I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop, but as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer and fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app, dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood, and this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball and the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And if you've been living under a rock, if you missed us start the show with the news, Donovan Mitchell did sign a 3-year extension worth up to $150.3 million. The last year of that is a player option, so essentially he's locked in for sure for this season, for next season, and then 2026, 2027. He has the player option in 2027, 2028. But as Jason was saying before we did a read, this is a monumental moment in Cleveland sports history.
And by the way, we should really just look at it as a 2-year contract because the only way Donovan Mitchell picks up that option is if he had it. It's a bad thing for the Cavs if he picks up that option,
right?
Because that means he had a devastating injury or some reason that he wouldn't want to sign a new, couldn't get a new contract.
But it's 2 on top of the 1 he already had,
right?
So it's 3. It's 3 guaranteed.
That's true.
Years of team control.
And that's right. He's still got next year,
still
and
has
then
next
the 2.
Year, next year still on his old deal.
Okay.
And then the 2 new years.
So so it is 3 years. So they really have him for 3 real years going forward, which is huge,
massive. And it's a win for and I'll even dial this back. And this is going to sound silly, but I'll even dial it back to Max Strus because when they signed Strus, I thought that was significant. This is an organization that has struggled to attract free agents forever.
Yeah.
So, and Strus is not a headlining name, of course, by any means, but he was a big name in that free agent class. He was one of the biggest names in that class, and they got him to come here. And then on top of that, I've said it before with Donovan, like, he didn't choose to come here. He was sent here. But you convinced him over 2 years that this is his best chance to win and this is his place to be. Like, he's got his money, and now he's got even more money. Donovan needs to win, and that's what's important to him right now. And when you look across the landscape, when you take the Knicks out of the equation, you take home out of the equation, you see what a tire fire the Nets are right now, where else was he going to go that was going to afford him a chance to win like this? It was Cleveland. And when you put on top of that the amount of money that he, like, how many times do we say it? He's got $200 million, a team knocking on the door. Here's $200 million. Open the door and take the money. Well, that's what he did. So it's felt to turn, at least from our vantage point, around the Boston series. Once they won that first round series, once they showed growth, all the momentum seemed to swing toward Donovan was going to stay here.
No superstar outside of LeBron who's from here has ever really chosen the Cavs. Right?
No.
Kyrie wanted to leave the first chance he got.
I mean, the rumors about Kyrie leaving were way earlier than people realize. Yeah. And so, he left. I mean, LeBron left twice.
Yeah.
Especially with that organization. It's been, and the others as well. I mean, the Indians had a run in the 90s where they were able to land some talent. But by and large, Cleveland, and all three teams know it, Cleveland has struggled to attract free agents.
And basketball is the hardest because basketball
is the winter months.
More than any other sport, the players care about what town they're playing in.
And you're here in December, January, and February, which is the worst time to be in Cleveland.
I can remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, but back in the day, he was like a B-level superstar. But the only guy that I remember actually signing here as a free agent back then was Larry Hughes. And we seen how that worked out, right?
Yeah.
Back to the Donovan thing, and Jason, I need your help. Let me know. I think there's a couple different layers to this. First is the financial side of things. He lost money once he was traded from Utah. He lost more money when he wasn't named to the All-NBA first team. So financially, I think it made sense for him to stay in Cleveland. It's still about getting the bag at the end of the day. And then I also think that there's, in my opinion, I think the city grows on people. Hence, this man sitting right here. Native New Yorker. Now he's in Clevelander. He loves the city.
Cleveland.
He loves the city of Cleveland. He's decided to put down some roots here, grow his family. And when you hear Donovan Mitchell talk, he says it all the time. I love the city of Cleveland. I enjoy being here. Jason asked him in his first press conference about the weather and things like this. He says, I'm a man that likes to dress, so the fall is right up my alley. To me, the few times I was able to be around him, I think energy says a lot. And how he just interacted with people, interacted with the fans, how he took care of his business as a professional, I think it went a long way. Internally, knew nothing. I just had a gut feeling he was going to stay here. And I think that's big for the city of Cleveland. It's big for the Cavaliers organization because not many people chooses us, right? He had the opportunity to go anywhere he wanted once he became a free agent. No, he didn't choose to get traded here, but once he got here, it grew on him. I'm happy that he's here. He seems to be a guy that wants to, grow his career, win a championship, possibly finish his career here. This is a dub in every sense of the word for the city of Cleveland and the Cavaliers.
I mean, the Cavs, even when LeBron was here, Jason, always had trouble attracting guys.
Yeah.
With the best player in the league, there were still guys who were like, nah, I'm good. And so, this is awesome. It's great for the organization. And as critical as I've been of Kobe Altman, I got to give him some level of credit. The organization, for all its flaws at times, and again, Kobe's a middle-of-the-road GM probably. I feel the same way about NBA GMs as I do about NFL GMs and coaches, whatever. You got a couple who are great, a couple who suck, and everybody else is kind of somewhere in the middle. And Kobe's somewhere in the middle, in my opinion, which is fine. At least they don't have a guy who sucks. But I give him credit. He has been a big part of making this organization not look like a joke.
Yeah, and he's
right?
He's one that Kobe's one of the ones that's pushed back on trying to get people to stay here.
That's true.
And being more positive and building something here. And I will give him a ton of credit because this trade was a massive gamble. A massive gamble.
Oh, yeah.
They traded 5 years of control of their own draft for a guy that they weren't sure they were going to have beyond 2 years. And they had 2 years to sell Donovan on it. And if they had Donovan told him I'm not staying, they had to turn around and trade him. Now they would have recouped. You could get a return for him.
Right, sure.
But you just lost 5 years of control of your draft for a guy who's not even on the roster.
Right.
So the gamble that they took when they made this trade was massive, and it's a home run. Like him signing today means the Cavs won the trade.
Yeah.
They won the trade.
No
Now
doubt.
you're talking win it as well. It can be a win-win.
Sure, yeah.
But from the Cavs' vantage point, they needed a star. They got a star. He fit perfectly age-wise with their timeline. He fit with what they needed. And now you're going to get – you got 2 years out of him already. He signed for 3 more. We can get in – we don't have to – today's a day to celebrate him signing it.
Yeah.
We don't have to get in the logistics of what the 3 years actually means. We can do that another time. But you've got him now locked up long-term. You don't have to trade him this summer. It is a home run for the Cavs. It's a massive win for this organization.
Go ahead, Mike.
On a deal that at times looked like it could sink them, and
No
it
doubt.
turned out to be a grand
Big win,
slam.
yeah.
This is absolutely a day of celebration because to get Donovan to put pen to paper on an extension like this, and I tweeted this out yesterday, Jason, when you mentioned you and I were talking, and you said it might be a 2-1, however it panned out. It's a win-win for everybody in this situation. I just want to lay this out, and I mean this in the most sincere, genuine way, that it's a win-win for both the Cavs and Donovan. From Donovan's standpoint, he does the 2+1 so he could enter 2027, 2028 as a free agent by declining the team option, because that'll be his 10th year in the league, and he could end up getting a giant 35% of the max instead of just 30%, which you can't sign, till you get your 10th service year.
We got to have that extra 5%.
It's a lot of money.
It's $50 million
Hey,
now,
listen.
and it'll be even more as a salary cap
I
goes up.
can't survive on $300 million. I must have $350.
Hey, I want all these guys to get as much money as they can. So
I
from Donovan's
do
standpoint,
too, but
from Donovan's standpoint, it
either
makes
way, it's the
perfect
bag.
sense.
But go
And
ahead.
also
yeah.
from the Cavs standpoint, there is now a concrete timeline for when you know we have Donovan for at least, and I say at least because he could certainly re-sign, and that max deal he gets to in 2027, 2028 could certainly be with Cleveland. We have 3 years now to put a championship team together. There's no more time to play this slowly or to not be aggressive or to not make sure we are maximizing the talent on this roster, however they feel the best way to do that is. So now there's a defined timeline with a defined star and not an end goal, because it's not 2027, 2028, Donovan's gone. That's not what I'm saying.
We got it.
But you know exactly when you have to push your chips into the table and figure out how can we get the most out of this roster, this coach, this organization.
I don't know.
And it's no longer up in the air of, well, can we go all in because we don't know if he's going to be here. You know he's going to be here for the next 2-3 years.
Yeah. Now, I don't know what kind of chips they have to push into the table to get
That's
better.
a different discussion. I'm just saying you now have a defined timeline of when you have to
And that's great.
can be aggressive.
And now they got to find a way to get better, and whether that's by trading Jared Allen or not, or just improving the roster beyond that. The next thing is what's happening with Evan Mobley. Jason, why are we not hearing about an Evan Mobley extension? Because that still factors into their ability to spend on the mid-level exception, right?
Evan's going to sign a max deal. But he's under contract for next year. So this is on the Donovan timeline.
Okay.
This is 2 years out.
So do we know how much they have to spend on the mid-level exemption after Donovan signed, or is it still up in the air because of the Mobley situation? Or no?
I'd have to crunch the numbers, but it's more of what happens with Okoro.
If
Okay.
there's a difference in a tax paying and a non-tax paying in terms of what your
Right.
mid-level is to spend.
Why are we assuming that he won't be? I mean, Dan Gilbert has billions and billions of dollars. Why would a few $1 million stop him from spending?
What are you asking about, Okoro?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't care. I don't care about.
Well,
Okoro,
here's
but
the thing.
Yeah.
Dan will spend.
Yeah.
But it's about when you start the clock on the repeat offender, because that is valid. Like even the Warriors are now flinching, and the way
But
that
why? It's stupid. They all have the money.
The Warriors 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and I don't remember the exact. This may be off, but the Warriors were over the tax 2 years in a row, and they put this in here to stop teams from doing that, and maybe even more than two.
Yeah.
For every $1 you spend over whatever the threshold is, Jason, it's either 7 or 9 that you spend.
Yeah, I
in
don't care.
luxury
They're all
tax.
multi-billionaires. Who cares?
But you're not.
Yeah.
Teams are. Nobody's going to do it. Like even Joe Lacob said,
I know.
enough is enough.
I get what you're saying. I'm saying they should because they have the money.
Well, they're
but
not going to.
whatever.
They're not
If I
going
was the
to.
NBA players, I would strike and get rid of the salary cap. They could do it if they had. That's the one union that could do it, but they won't
would never do it.
They won't, but they could.
No, they couldn't.
You don't think they could?
No. They would run out of money. The owners always have more money. The owners
Yeah,
will
but the
always
NBA
win.
guy, it's not like the NFL where there's a lot of guys who don't make any money.
It doesn't matter. The owners always have more money. Like we've seen it time and
We've
time
seen
again.
players win
But-
holdouts in baseball.
but not to
anyway, for another time for another day. I don't
Let me
want
ask
to
you
take
a
us down
question.
that road, but go ahead.
So a lot of national guys basically all wrote Donovan Mitchell tickets out of
Yeah,
Cleveland.
I mean,
right?
listen,
Which
back
made
it up.
sense.
I was the first one to
Like-
write it. Like,
like-
I'm not going to run for it. I was the first one to
Kendrick
write
Perkins.
New York is a
He said,
problem.
I'm going to keep it 100 with you. He played his last game.
Yeah.
I seen Donovan Mitchell's Instagram story before I came down here, and he was just like, I said it over and over again. I like it here. People chose not to believe it.
Yeah.
Like, how did we get so far from everybody saying nationally, I'm out of here, to, I heard him today, and he just sounds so sincere. We often, don't like to take what players say for face value.
Because
but,
they often don't tell the truth.
But this dude never really, to me, Jason, tell me if I'm wrong, he never really put much out there that signals that he didn't want to be here.
Donovan is a PR master, and he's really, really good at it. So no, there was nothing ever front-facing that made you say he wanted to leave. And everyone who said he wanted to stay, Donovan, everybody can take the victory lap today. You were right. Run with it. Where it came from, I can only speak to me. Where it came from is when I start talking to other teams. When he's been here a couple months, and they're like, it's already starting that Donovan wants to go to New York. And teams and agents talk, like agents represent 50 players across every team.
Rich Paul has 100 clients over
Yeah.
all 30 NBA teams.
So when agents in the NBA, and obviously I've been around the NBA more
Right.
than baseball and football, but the NBA, it feels to me now that I've had a little bit of time around baseball and football, the NBA is the biggest gossip machine of all of them. The NBA is Desperate Housewives. Of all the housewives sit at the end of the driveway and drink their talk, and they all just and everybody talks more so than any other sport, and it happens in the other sports, but not to the extent that it does in the NBA. So when you start hearing this stuff, you start checking around, and everybody is saying this. And I went to the Cavs and talked to people in the Cavs and said, "This, I'm not writing this right now, but this is out there. He wants to be in New York." And the pushback wasn't, "That's ridiculous." The pushback was, "We knew the risks when we made the trade." What does that tell you? Yes, it's real, but they said, "Screw it. We've got 2 years to convince them otherwise." And they did that. And so it's a win to them. It is a good team. It does give him a chance to win. And when New York sort of pulled itself off the table, and you look around the league and you say, where else is he going to go that's going to give him a better opportunity to win right now? That's why it just, once they won that playoff series, once they beat Orlando, and I talked about it at the time, and you can poo-poo it and say that they threw a game but this is why, because you can show incremental growth year over year over year. First round team last year, second round team this year.
Right.
Momentum building in the right direction. That's why they did what they did. And it all paid off. They won a series. Donovan re-signs, and we made very clear things he didn't like with the organization, and one of them being JB. Well, JB's gone. Donovan has equity now in this franchise. He has a seat at the table by signing this extension, and even prior to that. That's okay. He should have a seat at the table. He's
Which he wouldn't have necessarily if he went somewhere else.
well, it depends on the team.
Depends on the
it
team,
Depends
right?
on where he went. And I'm sure that's appealing to him.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
when you have say in the matter, and when,
Absolutely.
and when you have a type of juice now in this organization that he has, that's a selling point. And is he a top 3 to 5 player in the league? No, he's not. But he's a really, really good NBA player. He can be a viable piece to winning the championship. He can be an important piece to winning.
Mike?
Well, first off, I was just texting Jason to say that was a great answer. We're going to make it short out of that. So, Jason, ignore the text that you're about to get in 1 sec.
Oh.
Jason nailed it, though. When you talk to enough people, and Jason's way more connected than I am, I'm not going to pretend I'm not. That's what you heard. And it's not us saying this is what's going to happen. It's just, hey, this is what we're hearing. And to Jason's point, and once again, you could laugh at the fact that it's winning Orlando. What does that really accomplish? It shows tangible, grabbable,
They've gotten better
in front
every
of your
year.
face that we have taken a step forward. And is that enough to satisfy everybody? No, it's not. And at the end of the day, the end goal should not be with Donovan Mitchell as your best player to make the second round of the playoffs. But it is something you can legitimately grab onto. And once again, the reports of him and JB not getting along, they made a change of coach. You can choose who you want to believe there. We'll see what they do with some of the roster moves to appease Donovan if he thinks they can upgrade at certain positions or whatnot. But just like Kawhi Leonard, when there was the material change when he was leaving Toronto, how he ended up in Los Angeles. Like, these things change on a pretty regular basis, and the Cavs, over the course of the last 2 seasons, proved to Donovan that this is a situation he can flourish not only as a basketball player, but as a winner, hopefully. And he must believe in what Kobe and Kenny have in terms of planning for the future of the organization. And Woj was on SportsCenter this morning, and I wanted to ask you guys about this.
I find Woj so annoying.
Jason doesn't really Jason's not the biggest fan either. But
even his tweets annoy me because he's always got to mention the agency.
What?
And he's always got to mention. Like,
there's
nobody
reason why.
cares.
There's a reason why. But my point with
I
Woj,
know, but nobody cares.
and I'm very curious, Earl, Jason, Bull, what you guys think of this. He said that, and this is Woj on SportsCenter or Get Up this morning, said this deal was agreed upon on Saturday, and they announced it this morning, and obviously that means they held off on it for at least half of Saturday, Sunday, and all of yesterday. I'm assuming to give Kenny Atkinson a complete runway, essentially, for his press conference yesterday. Does it make any sense to you guys why they'd hold it off that long?
I don't know. Does it matter?
No, I'm just asking. It doesn't matter. I'm just asking.
No, I think you're right. I think they
Yeah.
wanted to get Atkinson.
Yeah,
I think
I
they
mean,
wanted to get the
I'm
Kenny
sure
press
you're
right
right.
away.
Yeah.
They did a nice job of keeping. I mean, obviously, I work closely with Shams, who's one of the best newsbreakers in the country, and Shams was on it. We knew it was close, but for them to keep a lid on it for 2 days like that is impressive from their end. But it did take longer. The whole thing took longer than I thought it would, and I think they just wanted to get the coach announcement out of the way from. But I don't know. I don't have a good answer for why it took so long to get the Donovan thing done because I think they can say they agreed to it on Saturday. I don't think it was much of a negotiation. It was Donovan telling them, this is what I want to do, and them saying okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's really much negotiating going on. But we wrote it after the Boston series, and again, I felt it swing during that Boston series. They may have known internally prior to that, but it became apparent to me, us reporters following this, me, Joe, Shams at The Athletic, during the Boston series is when all indications were really at that point he was coming back.
Mike?
I have one last thing on Mitchell,
Yeah.
then we'll move over to some Atkinson stuff, and then we'll get to guards and Browns. But in terms of the significance of Donovan putting ink to paper in this extension and really being the biggest Cavalier signing since LeBron came back and all that, does this open the door for future players of Donovan's caliber? Not Strus. I know we talked about Strus being a big-time free agent acquisition last year, but bigger names and stars. Maybe not the superstars, but Donovan-level stars and above. Does this open the door for more opportunities, you think, for those players to look at Cleveland as a potential destination, whether it's free agency, trade, whatnot?
I think in terms of trades is the better way for the Cavs because then it gives a chance for the player to see the positives of Cleveland and the organization if it's still in the good position that is in now. Because, for whatever reason, people that haven't been in Cleveland have this like, oh, Cleveland, which is, I don't know why that started or where that started from, but it still remains out there. And so if you trade for a superstar, he gets a chance to learn. And not everybody's going to take to the, like, one of the things to me that's so great about Cleveland compared to most big cities in America is the ease of getting around.
Yeah.
That is a major selling point for me and my family coming from the New York area where it's impossible to get around. That is one of the things I love so much about living here. But some people don't care about that. I don't know. So there's things that different people care about. But yeah, I think the fact that a player as good as Donovan Mitchell said, yes, I choose to stay in Cleveland, even if you think there are other reasons why that have nothing to do with Cleveland, I still think it's a positive going forward, potentially. What do you guys think?
Literally could do an hour on this.
Yeah.
I'm serious because you threw out like 3 things that we could talk about for an hour. Number one, does this open door for other people to come to Cleveland? Well, if you're talking about if you want to be like technical and live in reality, no, because of where they're at on the cap.
Oh, you didn't mean like right now.
No,
this
I just
minute.
meant in general.
Just in
Okay,
general.
all right.
Yeah.
All right, so let's throw that part out.
Right. Okay.
In general, it's interesting because I'm a middle-aged white dude, right? I've lived here my whole life. I am what I am.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear from although Earl's from here too, but is because we're talking about two different things. When you're talking about young black men in their mid-20s who are millionaires, they're looking for different things in life than I am.
That's right. They don't care about the traffic.
But I will say, Dave McMenamin, a real good friend of mine, came here from Los Angeles, moved from L.A. to Cleveland, and was like, I don't know if I'm, like, when LeBron came back, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, Cleveland, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Didn't know a soul when he got here. And Dave will tell you, he absolutely loved his time here.
Yeah.
He has a soft spot for Cleveland now. He loves coming back. And Mike's the same way. Mike was a guy in his young 20s, young white guy in his mid-20s, early in his career, dropped into a city. He knew no one. Yeah. And Mike loves it now. But
I wasn't excited to move. When I first moved here, I wasn't excited about Cleveland. And I was when I moved, but when I first learned about the job 6 months earlier, I wasn't. I've said that before.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know it.
You didn't know.
Yeah.
And there have been plenty of executives and coaches who have come here, who have been fired, who stayed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who their families are still here because they love the area. The wives love it.
Doesn't Ken Dorsey still live here? Or he did for a while, I think.
Ken Dorsey? He's the OC.
Not Ken Dorsey. John Dorsey.
John, I think he is.
I think he does.
I think Mike Pettin's back. Mike Longobardi's family is still here. The old Cavs assistant. Mike's been to 2 or 3 different jobs.
Yeah.
His family still lives here. Like they love the area and they stay.
Yeah.
But I wonder, I'm speaking from a old white dude perspective.
Yeah.
As young black millionaires, do they find the city appealing? Because that's where I think that's who when we're having this conversation, that's who you're trying to appeal to.
Right.
You're appealing to guys who are the most gifted athletic people on the planet, who can do things nobody else can do,
and they have money to burn.
And they have money to burn.
Yeah.
And they see Vegas, New York, L.A., Miami,
Atlanta's
big, and then they're like Cleveland.
And that's what I was about to say. I think if you're a person that's really like into the nightlife, then you look at Cleveland from afar and say, hell no, there's absolutely nothing for me to do in Cleveland. But if you're a person that has a different personality, if you enjoy art, if you enjoy nature and things like that, Cleveland got so many different museums that you can go visit for free more often than not. If you want to, I don't know, like if you're a person that loves food, you won't find another city that has like better selections of restaurants to go sit down and eat at.
That's not
and
really
then
true,
I think when it comes to
food scene's tremendous.
Tell them again, Jason. But then
it's
I think
tremendous.
another part of that.
Hey, let Earl finish his point.
Like,
Go ahead,
I think another part of that is just if you are an athlete. And you know how like you got guys who this is a business and then you got other guys who really like are passionate about this, you won't find too many other cities better than the city of Cleveland to come play in. And I think when people get here and they get an opportunity to learn this city, they fall in love with it. Now to Mike's question, it depends on that athlete and his personality. Donovan Mitchell comes off as a real chill dude, that he don't need all the glitz, the glamour, and he's not really into all that. So Cleveland might fit perfect for him. But if you like a turn-up monster and you want to be in a club every night and you trying to blow money on this, that, and the third, then Cleveland might not be your city. But to me, our city is a city on the rise. You got legalized marijuana. You got legalized gambling. Every time you step downtown, they're doing something to improve the scenery of downtown. You got the movie scene back jumping here. Like we said, the food is great no matter what Bull talking about.
No, wait a
it
second.
is so much going on in this city that you would want to be here.
There's more food than just pizza.
Let me clarify. New York, Cleveland's got a very good food scene. I'm not saying it doesn't. It's not better than other cities necessarily.
New York and Chicago are terrific too, but per capita, for what Cleveland has to work with, I think the restaurant scene here is sensational.
It depends on the type of food. There's almost no good Asian food. There's no good Asian food scene, really. There's not. If you think there is, you don't know. There's no good Latin food scene.
Oh, I disagree.
No, you're wrong, unfortunately. I wish there was. American food, steaks and burgers and stuff like that. That beautiful food scene. And overall, Cleveland's got a good representative food scene.
Yes.
I'm not saying it's bad. We don't need to get carried away about it being better than some other cities. But
you're probably right in terms of the eclecticness of it.
Yeah.
But what is here is
fantastic. There's a lot of great restaurants. It's a great city. I have nothing bad to say about Cleveland whatsoever. I grew up in the biggest city in the country. I love New York. I never imagined wanting to move out of New York. As a kid, if you would have told me if you told me at 15 I'd be living in Cleveland, Ohio, I would have said, you are out of your mind. There is no chance on the face of the earth I'm living in Cleveland, Ohio, and I would never move back to New York. I don't really miss much about it, even though it's great and I loved it and I still love it in certain ways. But there's very little, if anything, I miss about it. And there are a lot of great things. I think you're right, Earl. If you're a party animal guy, yes, there are other cities that offer you more options to party. And, we're not going to compare with New York and Chicago and L.A. and Miami in terms of the party scene. Of course. But Donovan Mitchell does seem like, we don't know him personally, he does seem like a more chill guy that's probably not out partying every night. And if you're that type of person, maybe he does care about the lack of traffic here. And you don't have to pay taxes like in New York. Now, Florida's got no taxes. They got no school system also. Their school system is absolute trash. Our school system is decent, and our taxes aren't crazy.
And he also came from Utah. So
yeah, right.
It's not like he went from New York to
and he played in Louisville.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't imagine being a black kid in Utah.
Well, he's spoken about it.
Yeah,
when he first got it, he spoke about it.
To like what Bull said, I'm the total opposite. I remember when I went to Ohio Media School to pursue all this, and a lot of people there told me if you want to work mainstream media, you would have to get started elsewhere, and that work in mainstream in Cleveland was like totally unlikely. I'm not saying I'm trying to box my career in, but man, I'm from this city. I'm from the inner city. To be like black from the inner city and say I talk mainstream sports in my city, like that's dope because I love my city. Right now it's the best time to be a part of what's going on. The Guardians are good, the Cavs are good, the Browns are good. And there's so many other things that's coming and going in and out of the city of Cleveland on a regular basis. Like I think we're lucky and blessed to be doing what we're doing right now in this city. I just think, like, as you said, this is a huge win for the Cavaliers organization, for the city of Cleveland. LeBron got Northeast Ohio ties, right? That's different. This dude was traded here. There was a lot of going on saying like he don't want to be here. He's up out of here. And he could have actually let this thing play out or went to the ownership and said, hey, I'm not re-signing anything. So whether it be the organization, the city itself, or a combination of both, I'm just glad it worked out for us.